So today's sermon comes from a 2016 sermon by Reverend Dr. Albert Gani. And it's talking about order. Transitioning from a place of chaos to order. And how that is spiritual. How that relates to philosophy. So before Socrates, there was a philosopher named Hesiod. And Hesiod talks about the idea that eros, which is the thrust, a longing, a movement, symbolized by the Cupid's arrow, that eros, that idea, elevates you. You move from chaos to order with that thrust, with longing. I long for a better state, and that pulls me out of chaos. So that's Hesiod's idea. The movement from one state up to another, elevating ourselves through this arrow of Cupid, through longing, through desire. And a lot of conclusions can be reached from this. So maybe these will be useful for you, hopefully motivating you in your life. First is that the elevation, the act of moving from chaos to order, requires going with the line of greater resistance. It means traveling the line of greater resistance. I want to move out of chaos, and I want to raise myself up to a greater level of order. It's not going to be easy. It's going to require effort. The line of greater resistance is required to grow. As we all know, you can't grow without putting in effort. You have to put in effort to grow. It's the line of least resistance that creates chaos in our life. When we disconnect from nature, when we disconnect from God's creation, that's how we create chaos. That's how we create disorder in our lives. You can see this in the minutest level. Like, you have your dirty clothes and you just throw them on the floor. Line of least resistance. The line of greater resistance would be to pick it up and put it in the basket in the closet. But I throw it on the floor, I'm creating chaos in my life. Soon I have a pile on the floor. Soon I have a pile of dirty dishes in the sink. That's how I create chaos. I don't want to wash those dishes. It's too late. Let's go with the line of least resistance. So then I wake up this morning, or one morning, to chaos in my kitchen. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. Why not? Because it's against God's creation. If God was in my kitchen, he'd wash the dishes before going to bed. If God was in my bedroom, he'd pick up those clothes and put them in the hamper. The effort would be put in to the little tasks to create order in my life, in every place. So that elevating of myself from chaos to order requires effort, and it requires conscious effort. deliberate effort, vigorous effort. Sometimes you see something on the floor, like a bug or a scorpion, and you just stare at it and you're like, I want someone to come and take care of this for me. Who's gonna smash this scorpion? No one. I'm gonna get stung, it'll drop on me. Or bite me. But I stare at it and I want someone else to put in the effort. I want someone else to pick up this dirt on the floor or this dead bug. Who's going to do it? Nobody. I create dirt slowly but surely in my life. Little bricks of dirt. Little choices to go with the line of least resistance instead of taking conscious, deliberate effort. You look at the little things, they highlight the big things. So growth and self-elevation, pulling myself up, can only be possible with that longing, with the force of eros, with that thrust, with that aspiration. I have to want to grow. I have to have a desire to make my life better. I have to have the goodwill to do so. So eros, that thrust, that growth, requires goodwill. Beautiful will to act and do. So you can't have longing or desire without the longing for self-improvement. Eros requires a longing for self-improvement. Now, when you're stuck in your idolatry, when you're stuck in your false self, the whole concept of eros and longing and desire is warped. It's upside down. It's upside down. What you believe to be longing, what you believe to be aspiration, from the false place is a distortion of real longing, real aspiration. You have an obedience to the line of least resistance. I aspire to be on a beach with a pina colada. I aspire to go on vacation and not have to deal with my life's problems. I aspire to be in front of the television, numb. It also becomes a forceful obsession. The distortion of eros, a forceful obsession, an infatuation, an addiction. I've warped my longing and made it into a function of my idolatry. I have to have a relationship. I have to have gone to the fanciest, latest new restaurant. I have to have this or that object. I was driving this week by all those outlet malls in San Marcos, and I was just philosophizing about like all of that is people longing for stuff. It's all, and most of them don't need any of it. Acquisition of stuff. I get a high when I get that stuff. I have distorted longing for that stuff. Eros, for stuff. It's not longing to grow, it's longing for stuff. And so my whole house becomes filled with stuff that I don't even need or know I have. So this is a regressive place when Eros is twisted. This is a line of least resistance place. It's easier to acquire stuff than it is to go with the line of greater resistance and make my cold calls. Or make a difficult confrontation. Or even make an easy confrontation that will have ramifications that I don't like. I'd rather opt to the line of least resistance. And so I put my longing in that place. There's a settling. There's a settling. I long to go skydiving instead of deal with the problems in my marriage, so I'm addicted to skydiving. But I'm not dealing with the thing that's more difficult, as in, there's a lot of issues in my relationship. Let's go get addicted to adventure sports and get that high because I need satisfaction. I feel empty because I'm settling. So anytime you settle, you're opting for the line of least resistance. Anytime you settle, anytime you eat something that doesn't sit well with you, anytime you enter a place and say, oh my God, what am I doing here? And you choose to stay, you're settling. You're settling. And settling leads to partial satisfaction. Well, this is the only relationship I can get. It's good enough. This is the only job I can get. This is good enough. This is settle, settle, settle. I settle. I just accept my house will be permanently messy. Okay, settling. I just accept that I will be always frustrated with my work. Settle. I'm settling, I'm numbing, which leads me to be frustrated, which leads me to be hostile, which leads me to be obsessed. And so all of this numbing, settling, attempts to repress negativity and evil, just cover it up. Just deny it. And so the root cause is never resolved. It's never eliminated. So you can elaborate this concept when you go to Plato. Plato takes Hesiod's idea and expands upon it. So you in life have achieved a certain amount of order. I mean, you're not living in chaos. You know, you have a house, not a cave. You know, there's, we have a certain amount of order, a car, a job. Hey, a certain amount of order. There are different levels of order, though. There's different levels of order. I can have order on one level, and I can look up and, or look down and there's chaos below. Maybe I thought what I had before was orderly. But there are different turns of the spiral, different levels of order. When I achieve a certain amount of order, there's a natural desire that will have me long for more. I want more order in my life. I want to be more aligned with God. I'm longing to have my life in flow. So I get a certain amount of order, and I long for more. What needs to be realigned? What is my wrong thinking? What is out of order in my life? My profession may be in order, but my garage is in disorder. Or my relationship life is in disorder. I want order everywhere, so I long. I'm propelled by desire for greater and greater levels of order. Becoming more and more in tune with God's creation, where everything flows, every green light is hit. My life becomes a symphony, not a 20th century symphony, a symphony of Mozart. A beautiful symphony where there's harmonies. Harmonies in my life. Everything fits together beautifully. And so there is no discord. As I long for greater and greater order, I'm creating greater and greater harmonies in my life. There is no discord. Or if there is discord, that shows there's a place of disorder. It's an indication where there is a state of chaos. Now, if you refuse to continuously elevate yourself, what will happen? You'll start to regress. You'll backslide. You'll backslide into the previous states of disorder, except they're going to be worse. They're going to be worse than before. If you take for granted an achievement, if you rest on your laurels, you will descend far more than you to a state that is worse than the previous state. So we can look at this in stages, this longing for more and more order. So you see the mundane world, everyday world. You just need to go to the Comal River. That's just the Comal River and people on the inner tubes. You see the mundane, animalistic, worldly world. Seduction, greed, being people arrested on the physical level, flaunting the physical, worship of the physical, drunkenness, youth idolized, gluttony idolized, sellout idolized, the worst aspects of the herd idolized. Okay. Yuck. Swamp, literally and metaphorically. Okay, this is the worldly world. This is chaos, mundane world. In a primitive sense, there's an animalistic order to this. In a very primitive sense. So the force of longing and aspiration, eros, will make you aware of this. You'll become aware of this condemnation into this animalistic swamp. You put yourself there, that you are part of this place. You become aware of unhappiness in this place. You become aware of the evil of this place. You become aware. And just the awareness is eros. You go from that swamp to being aware that I am in a swamp. That is awareness. That is eros. The act of raising myself to awareness. I'm not doing anything, I'm just aware. And that is growth. That is growth. The awareness that I have been maintaining myself in a swamp that I didn't even see. That elevation is affected by eros. But that's just the first step. That's just one level of that's putting some order in. Becoming aware is one level of order. Pulling myself out of chaos. It's not enough, though. So through longing, through eros, through aspiration, I get to a point where I understand how I've put myself in a swamp, how I've gotten stuck in that animalistic place. I'm not just aware of my animalism, I understand its origin. I see the evil that in me that's activating it. I have raised myself from a level of ignorance in the swamp through awareness to then a state of understanding. Woof, I'm here and I see how I got here and I don't like it. And this understanding, this point where I'm not only aware of it, but I understand that I've created it, is the entering of the path of purification. The place of understanding. The taking of responsibility for my participation in being in this swamp and how I have activated that, how I put myself in it. So that's a greater level of order. We've gone from ignorance to a higher level of order through just being aware, to an even higher level of order with understanding. And then the highest level of order is the dissolution. We are desirous, after we understand, to go farther. I long to dissolve this. I am aware, I understand, and now I want to dissolve. I reach the point eventually in this place of desiring to dissolve it, when I instantly know if I'm about to commit a sin of the line of least resistance. Like, I have my inner tube I'm about to enter. If I go into that swamp, I'm going with my line of least resistance into the swamp. I can choose in an instant, no, I'm not going to go in. I don't even have to get to hold the inner tube. I know before I've even left my house. No, I will not go with a line of least resistance. You instantly see the nefarious consequences at that point of dissolution, at the highest point of eros. No, I will not throw that dirty towel on the floor. No, because I'm going to have to pick it up later, and it's going to create a mess, and it's going to be ugly in my house. No, I will not leave the dishes for tomorrow. No. No, I will not escape my exercise. These choices instantly, I make the connection between cause and effect instantaneously. There is no difference or no distance between cause and effect at the highest level of order. At the highest level, I can see the consequences of the choice, and I don't even have to act out the choice. Little effort is involved. I choose goodness, beauty, and truth, and it's easy. What creates the element of time, like when I don't see it instantly, what pulls apart cause and effect is my line of least resistance. Is my stepping away from God. Then I don't see. I make the wrong decision. And I have to go down the 3-hour swamp. Not the 3-hour tour of Gilligan's Island, the 3-hour travels in the swamp. But I don't see it when I'm stuck in the line of least resistance. Cause and effect are going to take 3 hours because I didn't have the awareness. Because I volitionally blinded myself. So every stage requires a level of renunciation. You reach a point of renunciation at every stage. I get out of this ignorance and I'm renouncing. I become aware and I renounce. I understand and I renounce. And when I finally choose to dissolve it, I am renouncing. And there are levels of renunciation every step of the way. I have to get to a point of disgust. I experience the swamp, I experience the dirt. And that point of disgust renews me. That place of relinquishing renews me. What is given up is only the dirt, only the forced force, only the obsession, only the distortion. I found this quote by George Eliot that I thought was beautiful. "The devil tempts us not, 'tis we that tempt him, beckoning his skill with opportunity. And we invite him in to the degree we succumb to the line of least resistance." And so let's take a moment and we go inside. The bridging of these ideas of Hesiod and Plato with spirituality. We pray to raise ourselves, to identify the places where we are still stuck in ignorance, and to cultivate order in our life. The beauty of order. Order is God. The more orderly we are, the more harmonious our life will be. And we will create a beautiful symphony to present to God at the end of our life. And so let's take a minute and we will pass our offering plate.